Hey guys, how we doing? We're getting straight to it. We're gonna go through this project for We Could Be the Future with the Ready Set. Just jump through like some of the layers, some of the thoughts behind the layers, and what sort of processing we've been doing, what sort of instruments we've been using. Let's get right into it. So we did this originally at Jordan's, the Ready Sets spot with Cameron Walker as well. And yeah, and then he sent me the stems. We took it to our studio and then we added some bits. So let me take you through. So these are the drums Jordan sent me. If we listen to this, definitely distorted the shit out of the drum kit here. It kind of took the real punch out of it and made it more like vibey. So I'm not sure exactly what plugin. I think it might have been like Decap or something, just slammed. It sounds amazing when it's somewhat pulled back in the pre, because then when the actual drums come in, they feel huge when you hit the chorus. We've got a few plugins here. We've got this. So this is pulling some of that harshness out. So that, you know. Soothe again is probably just doing the same thing, taking some of that harshness out. And then Little Labs came in there to give it a bit more oomph on the low end. Maybe I felt it was a little like lacking a bit of low end. So this is an amazing plugin by UAD called Little Labs, and it just adds sub to almost any signal. That's that. Then the drums themselves, I think we added some stuff, but let's just hear that. So they're all going into this drum sub. And one of the important things about that is the plugin chain I've got here. And yeah, we're giving away some secrets for sure, but that's a good thing. So this obviously is the UAD Fatso emulation, which is a classic piece of hardware. It's quite expensive, so it's worth getting a hold of this plugin. I think they do a great job. And this is literally a preset called Simmons Drums. And you can hear how it just kind of brings it up, brings it way more in your face. Same thing with the Pultec, a bit more subtle. We're boosting a little real low and we're boosting a little of the higher stuff. Really not too much going on with that. That's more to kind of even it out. And then that's the drum bus. Those are the drums that we did originally. And then if we keep coming down, what have we got? We've got this 808, which is interesting. So this is just a print from this instrument, which I would highly recommend. They're called New Era 808 and bass. It's a contact instrument. I'm not sure how much it is. I think it's about $100. But they have some amazing presets. It's a really cool way to build an 808. You can completely change the parameters, the ADSR, just really mold your perfect 808. And that's going on the low end. And then we've got this slightly analog sounding synth that's filling in the mids, some piano chords, power chords. Diva's an amazing plugin again. They're really good, I think, for sounding slightly analog. You can hear in here that there's like a little bit of white noise or something that's in there with the sound, and it really helps just make it feel like organic. So for this post, you need to give that lift in the production. Drums don't really change. 808 doesn't really change, you can see. But we add this synth. See, that helps. This carries on the whole way through. And that's just a contact instrument, again, kind of emulating an electric guitar. It's called Axe Machina, another great electric guitar that you can use just to like generate sounds and fill gaps in the frequency spectrum. I'd highly recommend that. We've got a live bass in here as well. So that's been played here. So 890 hertz, that's interesting. So it's like that K-ish frequency. That's where I always like to have a bit of bass poke through. Always, almost every time. The top end of the bass is the piece you hear in the car speakers. It's the piece you hear in like the slightly shitty speakers. Like this, in my room, it's the small ones. And you've got to make sure that K pokes through, because otherwise you won't hear the bass on smaller systems, because all your low frequency stuff often gets lost. So you need the tone of the bass to poke through somewhere. And for me, normally I find around 1K, that's the perfect spot. So what's this? So this is cool. Little synthy key layer that only comes in the post. Level up the post and make it really lift. And then we've got So that sort of thing, again, just coming in on the posts really helps to lift the tune up. We got a bit of interesting processing on here. I love the FabFilter stuff, just real standard compression. Just a little bit of compression on that. And we've got this. Oh, interesting. That's weird. But this is the Slate virtual mix rack, right? And there's a few different presets in there, but I think it's great just for quickly finding a good sound and not having to tweak too much. So throw it on there, find a preset that's like close, and then from there you can take the extra steps you want to take. We've gone and found Guitar Rig and probably found, right now it's not showing anything, but I think in the actual tune we found like an amp or a cab simulation that we wanted to put on there to make it a bit more aggressive. We'll jump into the vocals in a sec. Let me just see what other pieces are in this tune. We've been through quite a few already. There's not that many bits going on, honestly. It's kind of big time to do with layers. It's the same thing, but playing in different instruments and adding them in, pulling them out. So it just feels bigger without necessarily you being like, oh, there's that new piece coming in. It just kind of lifts because you have all these different layers playing the same thing and just feels bigger and bigger. And I'm just trying to see what else we've added here once we get here. Oh yeah, this is quite cool. I like this. So this is something we do quite a lot, honestly, is like find a cool synth and add it in from second verse onwards. It basically adds the harmonic content to me. It's like a piano style, just really rich in the mids. Diva, again, sounds amazing in terms of presets they have that feel analog straight away. We've got another one here. What's this? So this might have been a custom one we did. Let's see. This is real standard though. So this is just us pulling up probably the Diva default preset and just opening the attack a tiny bit. So it's kind of like a wow instead of like a ba, ba, ba. It sounds really warm. It sounds really great. You add that in the pre. You don't really know what's being added, but it just feels slightly bigger just to move us along there. We added some more guitars in the pre. Let's see what these are doing specifically. Oh yeah, Luke. That's kind of a weird little harmonic piece there, but okay, there it is. So these are the guitars that get added in the pre, second pre only actually, and they just give a bit of a lift. Yeah. See, I love those. Those to me are like the guitars that you treat completely differently. They've got big reverbs on. We're sending to bus 6, which for me is always a massive reverb. And it just throws a different tone in the mix. Everything else is distorted, sort of heavy electric guitars. And when you have like such a spacey, ethereal guitar tone, it blends really nicely with the other stuff. Again, probably a similar chain in terms of the compression, the virtual mix thing that's probably going to fuck up when we touch it again. Yep. But I do love that tone. Putting different flavors of guitars in tracks, really important. That's another quick tip. If you're recording guitar, try and switch up the tone. Do one part and then change some shit and then record the next one. Don't just record the same exact guitar tone for the whole song. It sounds much bigger and much more like you've recorded a band or something if you keep changing the tone of the guitars, because they all kind of fill slightly different parts of the spectrum. So let's see what else we got. I think we're about done, guys. This is where everything's in. Feeling pretty fucking juicy here. I can just quickly take you into the lead vocal, what we've done there. So here, got a lot going on, I'll be honest. Got auto-tune on here, pretty slammed probably. De-esser that we hit really hard. Arvox is an absolute classic, get that on there. We're probably taking up quite a lot of mids. I hate this area of the frequency spectrum in my voice, so I'm always pulling it out. We've got a limiter on the vocal track. I like this a lot. Once you have a vocal tone, you want to like bake in where it's at, because as your vocal changes in performance, it affects all the plugins differently. So if you can limit at the end of this first audio track that you're recording and then send it to a bus, we have a vocal bus here that this is all going to that does more processing. What you're doing is you're like limiting the error that will happen when it goes quieter and when it gets louder. You're like baking in a sound to be more consistent throughout, and it will just make the vocal feel bigger in general, because whatever effects you're doing on this bus will be done to the whole vocal across the whole performance. So you'll just get a more punchy overall vocal because you're operating at the same level. What else is unique here? Kramer tape, I absolutely love this thing, just to bake in a bit of saturation. Helios, that's a Rogue one. I do love Helios. What am I doing? The top end here, right? What's going on here? There's a bit of a peak here. Interesting. 2K is an interesting one because that to me is like slightly below the harsh horribleness of the vocal, but it's very, very present. Boosting 2K is like an aggressive move, but obviously I felt the need to do that. Helios is an amazing EQ though. I highly recommend it, UAD. For exactly what I was talking about with the bass, pushing that 1K, you can set this to 1K here and push the peak here, and you're gonna get a really nice way to just poke the bass through. So highly recommend this plugin in general. We got Soothe here, it's absolutely classic. I literally can't talk highly enough of that plugin. And then that's pretty much it for that. All the vocals we recorded here, most of them I think. Again, similar concept, baking everything together, compressing on the way in, so everything just sits and stacks really nicely. And then on the mix bus, got the classic here. Just giving it a bit of width in this plugin, amazing plugin again, BX Digital V3, I put it on every single project. It gets bounced into every demo, every mix, we send out stems, we print it through this. Mono, anything under 80, add a dB at 12K, add a dB at 100, and again, we're just pulling that little piece of mud out of the song in general. This, no one likes this. No one does. If you do, you're psychotic. But this is gone to me. So just the dB, it's not crazy aggressive, but to me it just helps make the whole thing sound a little bit crispier, a little bit fatter, down the low end, slightly fatter, gives it a tiny bit more space, and then for the top end, again, allows it just to like punch a little bit cleaner because we're getting rid of that mud. But thanks so much, guys. That was just a really quick overview of We Could Be The Future with the Ready Set. Unbelievably talented guy, and we will jump into another tutorial next week. Production 1. I'm going to actually dive into the production project of a song that is coming out this week. So yeah, that's going to be really sick because you're going to have heard it for like the first time and we're going to jump straight into the production over the weekend. Can't wait for that and hope this is helpful. See you soon. Cheers, guys.